Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 44 of the Runnin the Paint podcast. I'm Miles. I'm here with Nick, Joey, and Jackson. Guys, how are you doing today?
Doing great, doing great. Can't wait for another late night playoff podcast.
Yeah, I was hoping we could talk about, we would be talking about a Cavs, huge Game 4 win, but obviously that wasn't the case. No Donovan Mitchell and no hope for the Cavs in Game 4.
Definitely difficult. Jackson, how are you doing?
Dude, I'm barely alive right now.
I wonder why. Hey, we'll probably get to that with a couple rough results from the last couple days
I didn't watch any
in
basketball.
in the postseason. Well, that's probably why as well. But yeah, once again, another late night pod. Gonna go over all of the game fours. All these series have gone through 4 games, and 3 of them are even at 2 games apiece. Let's get started with one of them. The Oklahoma City Thunder and the Dallas Mavericks game 4. The Thunder pulling out the victory 100-96 in a game where it did not look good for them early, but they pulled it out in the end with some big superstar plays by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Just an impressive performance by the Thunder on the road.
Dude, I didn't think it looked good for the Thunder late. Like you said, it didn't look good for them early. I didn't. They just found a way to keep this lead at like 8 to 10 points throughout the entire game, and then when it came down to crunch time, Luka and Kyrie were nowhere to be found. Luka had 19, Kyrie had 9. Both of them shot awfully terrible in this game. I mean, PJ Washington was really the only bright spot consistently for Dallas in Game 4, and I thought this was going to be Dallas's defining moment of the playoffs, where they go up 3-1 and then we're able to close it out maybe on the road and then give either Denver or Minnesota a shot in the next round. But you let OKC hang around and hot hand. Like, I know we've talked about their experience on this podcast a lot, but it's whoever's playing better at that time. And today was OKC.
I definitely picked the Mavs to exactly what you were saying. Take a commanding 3-1 victory, get ready for, and just close out the series at pretty much. That's what I thought was going to happen as well. However, as much as I want to I don't really know what to dog on Dallas. Outside of free throws missed in this game, it was atrocious, especially down in the clutch time by Luka, by Lively, by PJ Washington, even. It was just not good. However, on the OKC end, huge props to them. Got to give them their flowers. Shai had a great game. Everyone seemed to play great. They kept it within that striking distance, and then all of a sudden, even though they don't have that experience, they played like a veteran team that's been there, done that, knew exactly how to come back, who knew who their leader was, and honestly, huge props to OKC for just beating those experience allegations that even I was throwing out there that I didn't think they had. But they did not play like they were a newbie in the playoffs.
It really was something else. Of course, they lose a tough game in Game 3 on Saturday afternoon in a game where they led by 10 in the third quarter and kind of fell apart the rest of the way. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander kind of came up short a little bit. I thought he settled in the second half of that game. Then you go to this game, and it was not going their way to start in the first half. I'm looking at these shooting numbers by half, and it's incredible. In the first half, Oklahoma City shot 35% from the field, 1 for 11 from 3, 9%, while the Mavericks shot 48% from the field and 43% from 3, and the Mavericks had an 11-point lead. And it was the perfect scenario for the Mavericks to put on the gas and really just extend the lead in the second half. But in the second half, OKC started to get shots to fall. They shot 41% in the second half, which isn't anything special. But Dallas
48%
shoots
in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, but Dallas in the whole second half shoots 34% from the field, 21% from 3, and 9 for 19 at the free throw line, like you were talking about, Joey. Those missed free throws, 10 of them in the second half. That's just unacceptable, really, from this team. You get 11 combined points from Luka and Kyrie in the second half. It's just not going to get it done for the Mavericks. They're not built to win games when those two are not playing well.
I was looking at the box scores. Honestly, after looking at it, I feel like Luka's been arguably the most disappointing player in the playoffs. Like just efficiency wise, and like he's not his usual self at all.
I don't
He
think
has
that's
been
a
pretty
crazy
beat
thing
up.
to say. Yeah.
He has been pretty beat up. Like I remember after the one game, they asked how is he feeling. He's like, dude, everything hurts. So like he's been pretty beat up, but that's definitely not out of line to say that he has not been himself.
Seth Rollins took a chair shot from Roman Reigns with a torn meniscus, so.
A little WWE trivia.
We love that.
But yeah, like with I know prior we'll get to the Boston Cleveland series coming up, but prior to the two games in Cleveland, everyone was talking about Jason Tatum has to play better. His efficiency numbers have not been good. Luka's have been worse. Efficiency wise, he's down to 40% from the field in the playoffs, 26% from three on nearly 10 attempts per game. No one's really talking about it because, Luka's still giving you the 9 rebounds, 9 assists per game.
He had a triple-double tonight.
He did have a triple-double, but it just wasn't that good. He really hasn't had many good games this playoffs.
A sub-20-point triple-double is very rare. Usually when he has triple-doubles, it's like 40-point triple-doubles.
Yeah, like going back, when you look at his signature games, really, of this playoffs, I think of probably game 2 of this series where he really bounced back after the tough game 1. And then game 5 of the Clippers series in the first round. Those are really the main, Luka games of this playoff run, really. I mean, all the numbers look fantastic, but when you're watching, it's just not the Luka magic that we've come accustomed to seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That's a player like Jalen Brunson who can make up for the scoring that Luka has been.
What?
Putting there.
He's saying that Dallas should have held on to Jalen.
Oh.
Well, of course they should have.
Mark Cuban always talked about what his biggest fumble is on Shark Tank, letting Jalen Brunson walk.
Mark Cuban, yeah.
Yes, Mark Cuban. They showed him a couple times in the second half where he just looked dejected after this loss. But again,
well, everything was rolling for Dallas, like all the way through the third quarter. Like even the color commentators were saying, this is what the front office guys envisioned when they traded for Gafford and Washington, and then it all just kind of dissipated in the fourth quarter.
I think they've gotten more from PJ Washington than I think any of us could have expected at the time.
PJ Washington's been playing fantastic, being able to spread the floor the way he's been able to shoot consistently from 3 this postseason. It is very good for Dallas if he's been like this. They just need Luka and Kyrie not to have a game like they did today to help them out with that.
Yeah, no question about it. So this takes us now ahead to game 5 of this series, with this series tied up at 2 games apiece now, with the Thunder having the home court advantage. What do you guys think about this series now moving forward? I mean, it's crazy to think how the perception or the momentum can change after one game, because or after one quarter even, because like we were saying, looked like the Mavericks were going to go up 3-1, and now the Thunder get the big win, and now they've got the home court advantage. So what are you guys going to be looking for in game 5?
If Luka and Kyrie can shoot better than 10 of 31.
Not even that
bad. That's very bad. What are you talking about?
Less than 30%, dog.
Average Tyler Hero game.
Yes.
Accurate. That's saying something. Accurate. That's saying something.
Definitely how banged up is Luka, because it's affecting him so much, and they can't have him shoot the way he did today. Same with Kyrie. it's weird to say that they need to help out PJ Washington because he's really been the only consistent kind of one.
I mean, this is going kind of exactly how the Thunder, I'm sure, really wanted with this game
Oh,
plan,
yeah.
where it's like, all right, I think the Kyrie Irving approach in this playoffs has been to, see the game out in the first half and then take over in the second half. In the second half, the last couple of games, they've made sure to guard him a lot better, and force the other guys to beat you in PJ Washington. Derek Jones Jr. had a good game, but I think in the grand scheme of things, you're going to bet on, if Shea is going to continue to cook like he did in this game, you're going to bet on your star players over the Mavericks role players, no question.
I don't know. Shea's playing at an MVP type caliber right now, especially today.
The free throw merchant.
Only 6 today. Can't say anything about it today.
He had 6 points?
6
No.
free throws on 33
He had 32 points.
I was about to say.
On only 6 free throws. He didn't need to get to the line today.
Josh Giddey's our best player.
The unplayable Josh Giddey?
I think we should just move on after that name.
Dude, the more and more that I've been thinking about or watching this series and Josh Giddey, I truly believe that if the Thunder declined Josh Giddey's team option and he became a free agent, no team would pick him up unless it was on a minimum deal. I seriously believe that.
You know what's sad to say? He's like a worse Ben Simmons.
All right. See, there's no reason to mention him. That was just ridiculous. Because you know how big of a fan I am.
I thought you were a big fan of Jalen Brunson, Sengun, Jordan Poole.
The good players.
Yes.
Shut up.
But yeah, I mean, you guys got anything else on this series as we go to Game 5? I mean, this is gonna be huge. I mean, who do you guys think can pull this out now in the best of 3 series?
Kyrie likes the later games in the series, I'll say that.
I picked OKC in 7. I'll stick with it.
I think I picked the Mavs, but I still think the Mavs can do it.
I picked the Mavs in 6.
I think the home court advantage isn't going to matter as much since both teams have won at each other's home place. It's more of just who's hitting that night.
Dude, I don't think I've seen a single away team win a playoff game this year. Or a home team win a playoff game this year.
Literally, the Cavs, Magic, only the home team won that series. Literally that entire series.
I think game 5 to me is probably going to be the series. Either way, I think that if the Thunder win Game 5, then they'll win either Game 6 or 7, most likely Game 7. And if Dallas wins, they'll have the momentum going back to Dallas for Game 6. So I think Game 5 is the pivotal game for a reason. So that should be a lot of fun coming up here. Moving on, we'll go to the other game, the first game from tonight with the Boston Celtics and Cleveland Cavaliers. Difficult news early this afternoon of Donovan Mitchell missing the game due to a left calf injury. So the shorthanded Cavaliers, they fought really, really hard, but it was not enough to defeat the Boston Celtics, 109-102, and the Celtics are now up 3-1 with a chance to close it out on Wednesday. Joey, the floor is yours. What were your thoughts from this game?
My first thought is, Nick, break out the sunglasses, the ref uniform. Even you could do a better job than what they're doing out there. It is bad. I'm sorry. It is. Boston is getting literally every single call.
Like watching a Philly.
Like, it's so ticky-tacky for Boston. Then as soon as we get, tackled, they don't nothing. You can get tripped up by the player at common foul. Nowhere near the ball. Speaking of that, Max Strus and Jaylen Brown, it was bad. But honestly,
yeah, that was bad.
It was so bad. However, as salty as I am about the refs, I am immense. This is the happiest I'll probably be after a Cavs loss because the rest of the Cavs finally stepped up. They played a really good game. It's just unfortunate Donovan Mitchell was not out there to be a part of it because this is exactly what he's been waiting for this entire playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, Darius Garland with 30 points. We've been asking and waiting for him to step up. He did when we needed him the most, when the Cavs needed him the most. He stepped up with the 30 points after not scoring in the first quarter. So all 30 of those points came in the final three quarters.
Strus hit 5 threes in the first half.
Strus, I thought, was terrific. I know a lot of fans are going to be angry at that, of the deep three he took late in the fourth quarter. But yeah, he can make that shot, though. We've seen it before. You kind of have to live with the shots he takes, in my opinion. We could have gotten a better look.
Could have gotten such a better look.
Definitely. And I think that's something that they will be talking about after the game. Something similar to game 3, where I thought when the Cavs were trying to make a run to get it close, they tried to go for a couple home run plays. They didn't go their way, and then the Celtics came back the other way. But Evan Mobley played great. I think Karis LeVert got off to a good start. I mean, this is about as good of a game as I think you could get from these guys in this sort of situation. But all the credit, man, to the Boston Celtics for playing a terrific 2 games in Cleveland after the, disappointing loss for them in game 2 where they got destroyed on their home court. Jason Tatum in these 2 games has been spectacular, making tough shot after tough shot. Same thing with Jaylen Brown. I think the difference for these 2 games is that Drew Holiday finally stepped up, and his impact was sensational on both ends of the floor in games 3 and 4.
I was just about to mention that. I was like, you know who's really stepped up in Cleveland? Drew Holiday. Defense, like even Derek White's been even slow. He started off so hot for them in that game 1, and he has really cooled off. But especially in Cleveland, Drew Holiday has been knocking down the wide open shots, being aggressive and driving it in, either finding somebody with some really good passes or even driving and finishing and attacking the rim. He has been one of the X factors for Boston.
I think Mark Cuban might have to make a call to Jason Tatum because he didn't miss any free throws in this game. 33 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 9 for 9 from the line. I didn't get to watch this game because I was too busy getting our 5th straight win.
Heck yeah,
hey,
let's go.
Nice.
Let's go, NDCL.
High usage night for a lot of these Cavs guys. Max Strus played 42 minutes. Mobley was up around 40 minutes as well. Garland over 40 minutes. It didn't seem like it was enough offense.
One of the big issues I had was them playing Strus a whole lot. There was moments in that second half where they started hitting some shots. They started attacking Strus because he was a very big weak link, and I'm like, can you please just sub him out for Dean Wade? Because Dean Wade's locking down Jason Tatum, forcing him into tough shots. Yet Jason Tatum is still making them.
It's a difficult situation because Dean Wade, of course, hasn't played in 2 months. He is on a minute restriction. He played 5 more minutes than his minute restriction. So it's difficult either way. Like I was saying in the pre-pod lobby, as I think Jackson is hitting the hay on us.
Good. He's been exhausted.
But no, like I was in the pre-pod lobby, I was talking about how I've been talking with some guys about, they feel similar about Max Strus being on the floor this much, and I'm just like, who else do we play? We don't have the bodies to play at this point.
Yeah, it'd be a different story if we had Donovan and Jarrett, but
I was really missing Jarrett today. I'll be honest. I know there was some moments where our spacing was absolutely awful. Like we had Tristan Thompson out there who did give us some good hustle minutes and give Evan Mobley a much needed break every now and then. But man, the spacing was awful. There were 4 guys all around the 3-point line and Tristan Thompson at like the top of the key. And I'm like, nobody's in the paint. the spacing is terrible. Like, how are we going to dissect this Boston defense like this?
And you look at the rebounding as well, 48 to
Oh,
32 in
yeah.
favor of the Celtics. But again, the Cavs are just in this iteration of their roster, they are small as heck. I mean, they're getting Strus and Okoro at the 4 minutes in with this depleted roster without Mitchell, without Allen, with Niang struggling. Like,
I'm surprised we didn't play Marcus Morris.
yeah, I was curious. His minutes haven't been that great this series either. And I think JB was thinking that we needed shooting.
Better than George's Niang, though. Come on.
Yeah, definitely. I think JB was playing with the thought that, okay, if we are going to have a chance in this game, we have to go shot for shot with the Celtics and get a whole bunch of threes up. And we did. We took 16 more threes than the Celtics. Problem is we only made 3 more than they did. But this Boston defense, it's just fantastic. Like, of course, Nick mentioned it one time. I know the narrative on this team when they most likely reach the NBA Finals is that they had the easiest path to the finals ever in the East, where, the Heat are injured, the Cavs are injured.
Yeah, but you could say that about any year.
You could say that about any year, and also that can't take away how great this Celtics team is, because they are fantastic from top to bottom. Like, the whole season, the question about them has been their depth and their bench players, but that they've played well, and it kind of gets negated by the fact that at all times you can have 2 or 3 of your starters with your bench on the floor.
This Boston team is great. I don't even if they do have the easiest. Who didn't pick them going into this playoffs? There's not many. The majority of people picked Boston to still come out of the East, regardless of injuries to Jimmy Butler, Donovan Mitchell, and Jared Allen. Regardless of that.
And in the beginning of the season too, like, it was between the Bucks and the Celtics, but that was like, I don't think people didn't expect Boston to be this good, and they're doing this without Kristaps Porzingis as well. So they should get out. Or go ahead.
Yeah,
they've won the Eastern Conference the last 3 years, and they added 2 All-Stars this year.
Yeah, it's been a very special year for the Celtics. They should be able to close this series out in 5 games. But one last thing about the Cavs before we move on to the next couple series. There's been a lot of talk about, the Cavs roster not working, the coaching, everything about that. And you can say whatever you want about that, but I don't think you can say after this series that they won't go down without a fight, because they've shown through adversity all year long that they will push through and play as well as they can. I mean, even with JB Bickerstaff, who isn't the best head coach, we probably are all hoping to see a different head coach in that system next year. The players all love playing for him, and they play super hard for him. So there's something that has to be said about that.
I was going to say, I've definitely warmed up to JB, especially this series. Gets embarrassed games 1, comes back, wins game 2, fought hard in game 3, but nobody else could hit shots. And then this game, without your star player, everybody else shows up. He's got these guys fighting. And as a fan, even though I'm a big JB criticizer, it definitely fills me with confidence the way he's been coaching and have these guys fighting the way they are against the best team in the NBA this year. That's just what it is.
Definitely a tough situation to be in, but lots of credit to the Boston Celtics.
Yeah. I still got Cavs in 7 though. They've come back from 3-1 before.
Hey, shout out to LeBron James, who was at the game. Courtside at the game.
Maybe we'll see him on the court in a couple years.
Maybe in next year.
Maybe next year.
You never know what could happen. The NBA is crazy. Moving on, let's go to the games from Sunday night. A couple big game 4s with teams evening up their series. First, let's start off with the Denver Nuggets, the defending champs. You can never count out the champions after getting dominated the first 2 games at home. They go to Minnesota, they blow out in game 3, they take game 4, and just like that, this series is back tied up square one. We're tied up at 2 games apiece with 2 big impressive victories in Minnesota. Nick, we'll start with you. How did the Nuggets come back in these 2 games?
Well, I'm just impressed by this series. Um, these two teams are very evenly matched. We saw it in the regular season. I think they each split on each other's home courts in the 4 games that they played, and to win 2 in Denver and then have 2 road wins in Minnesota as well. I've never seen that before. That's unheard of to go 2-2 on each other's home courts. But to me, this feels like the Western Conference Finals. I think whoever wins this is gonna make it to the finals. Yeah,
Definitely a possibility. That's not a crazy take at all to say.
These are definitely 2 of the best teams in the West. So, and they've been playing like it. It's been extremely fun to watch.
Yeah, I think one thing that you have to, well, I think the number one thing you have to point to in these 2 games has been Jamal Murray, who we said after game 2 that he needed to play a lot better, and he has. He's played a lot better in these 2 games, making tough shot after tough shot, including that unbelievable sequence at halftime of game 4,
oh yeah,
with that half court shot. That was insane. Um, but Jamal Murray's played a lot better. Jokic has stepped up, and something that Nick, you have pointed to several times with this series, and it is that matchup at the power forward position with Aaron
Aaron
Gordon
Gordon.
and
Oh,
Karl Anthony Towns. And in these 2 games, Aaron Gordon has been fantastic. Specifically, game 4, 11 for 12 from the field, 27 points, 7 boards, and 6 assists. And conversely, you have Karl Anthony Towns struggling in both of these games. Game 3 only getting up 7 shots, I believe, and 5 of them were from 3. So he got nothing inside. And game 4, 5 of 18 from the field. I've went back and looked at a lot of his plays in game 4 of him struggling. And a lot of it was with Aaron Gordon on him, making him take tough shots inside, turning the ball over. It was just hard for Cat to get anything going in game 4.
yeah. I mean, we like you said, the Karl Anthony Towns matchup. I don't have the exact numbers, but in the first 2 games, Karl Anthony Towns heavily outscored Aaron Gordon, and in games 3 and 4, it was exactly the opposite. Aaron Gordon outplayed Karl Anthony Towns in virtually every aspect of the game. But yeah, to me, you nailed it. Jamal Murray had to step up, and then it starts with the two-headed snake of Jamal Murray and Jokic. Jokic had, I think, 37 or 32, 7 and 7, just absolutely insane. Controlling the pace, not making any mistakes with the ball in his hands, and man, I think that really is like to me when you're watching and you're talking about like what separates the highest level, like Jalen Brunson and Nikola Jokic are probably 2 of the top, and Anthony Edwards. I mean, those 3 guys are some of the top guys in the playoffs right now. We talked about how Luka's struggling a little bit, and the biggest thing to me with that is these guys just don't make mistakes with the ball in their hands, especially late. Like you can even throw Shea in there, I guess. You can just trust them with the ball in their hands, and with Jokic, it's really fun to watch.
They definitely these last 2 road games have been playing like how we thought they would, how defending champs are supposed to play like. They completely flipped the switch. It's been incredible to watch. Like this is what we expected in Denver. I hate to say it, if I was a Denver fan at game 4, I'd be like selling my next ticket to a Minnesota fan. Get those Wolves fans in the building, make it feel like an away game so Denver plays better in Denver. Get that
It
home court advantage back.
Yeah, I mean, it's really is what we expected coming into the series, but we just expected, I mean, the Nuggets we just expected these teams to win at home.
Yeah.
Like you said, Nick, I don't know the last time we've seen something like this happen where through 4 games the road team has won every single game. The last most recent thing I can think of is 2017 when it was the Celtics and the Bulls when Rondo was on the Bulls and he got injured or something like that, and the Bulls were up 2-0, and then the Celtics came back and won. Before that, I cannot remember when healthy teams just didn't win a home game the first 4 games. It's been something else.
It's been
Another huge part in
God.
this game was the Nuggets support staff, Christian Brown and Justin Holiday, both playing over 20 or nearly 20 minutes and having big impacts.
Yeah, I mean
yes.
the bench, like the bench play has been so backwards.
They've been playing like a complete team, like fully just again as we saw them last year, like everyone sitting in their roles, doing what they're supposed to, cool and composed. Everyone's where they need to be. Jokic, like you said, Nick, is just pinpointing exactly where the ball needs to go. This is Nuggets basketball, and we've said it. You guys both have said it. Jamal Murray, they need playoff Jamal.
And one more thing on Jokic too. I think Game 4, he made it a point to be aggressive early. I mean, 15 shots in the first half for Jokic, nonstop.
Yamming on.
Yeah, they had a
Mhm.
dunk, nonstop hook
On
shots
Anthony
over
Edwards.
Gobert. Yeah, he was just looking fantastic. I mean, the Nuggets in the first half, I mean, 64% from the field in the first half.
Yeah.
One of their best offensive halves in Nuggets history. And it comes against this elite Timberwolves defense.
You know you're in trouble when Jokic actually has like passion and aggression in a basketball game. Usually he's just like, here we go.
What do you guys think is going to happen in this best of 3 series now?
I'm gonna say the away team wins every game.
Wow.
Hey man, they haven't shown me anything different yet.
Honestly, I think that Denver's going to win these next 2 games, and they'll win in 6. I think that Minnesota is going to be kicking themselves for losing both of these home games. I mean, these are just golden opportunities.
So you think Minnesota is going to start the playoffs winning 6 straight and then lose 4 in a row to go home?
Yes, that would be what would happen. I do think that's going to happen. I think the Nuggets have figured out the Timberwolves for now. It's easy to say after 2 games, of course.
Do you really think Aaron Gordon's going to be able to shut down Cat for another couple games? I personally don't. Like, hey, Aaron Gordon's playing like he did back when he was in Orlando, almost like a star, like pretty much like a star. But like, I don't know if he can shut Cat because Cat has been severely ineffective, almost like Goglin would say, Julius Randle like.
Yeah, that's a good question. They probably won't happen, but I also don't think that they will need to win. I don't think that it will take Cat struggling for them to win games because the Nuggets won this game. Michael Porter had 4 points on 4 shots in 35 minutes. Their bench has been playing really well. I don't think the Timberwolves bench will continue to struggle like this. It's been a surprise to see Reed and Alexander Walker both have, a couple mad games. I know Reed shot the ball well, but wasn't that efficient or impactful in game 4 like he normally is. But I think that when you get Jokic time to figure out how to, dissect the defense, I think that he is going to continue to be the best player. Even though Edwards was fantastic in game 4.
Yeah, 44.
I think that Jokic and Murray, now that Murray's figured it out too, I think those two can get the Nuggets to win this series. But of course, the Timberwolves, they did win those first 2 games in Denver in very convincing fashion. We'll see if it can continue, man. It's been a special year for the Timberwolves, and it would be tough to see it go out like this when they had the defending champs on the ropes.
Oh yeah,
agree.
Nick, what do you think is going to happen? You said that every road team's going to win. You think that's
what I said.
Okay.
I said I think every road team's going to win.
I picked OKC in 7. I picked Denver in 7.
We're sticking with it. I like it. Final game from the weekend. Final game 4. This was crazy. The Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks. First game 3 from Friday night. That was a crazy game. Ended with the spectacular game winner by Andrew Nembhard.
What a
from
shot.
that was
From
something
40.
else. I
That
couldn't
was deep.
believe it. But the Pacers, they answer right back in game 4, dominating the Knicks. It was over before it even started. The final score was 121-89. It wasn't even that close, to be honest with you. That was something else. I mean, we knew the New York Knicks have been playing tough every single game, um, with injury after injury. OG Anunoby out for these 2 games. You knew it was gonna catch up to them at some point. It completely caught up with them in this game.
This is the real reason Goglin went to bed early. He doesn't want to hear us just dog on the Knicks or me dog on the Knicks. But man, that game 4 was brutal. They were down 20 in the first quarter.
Yeah, it was what they started out 34-11.
Oh my gosh!
I
I have
couldn't
18%
never.
from 3-point range.
I haven't seen someone get 21 in the first quarter since I played my roommate in college on 2K. Like this was bad. It was over before it started, like you said, Miles. Complete and utter dominance, and yeah, that. So shout out to the Pacers for playing just a complete game. It was unbelievable to watch. Everyone was hitting shots. Miles Turner. I remember watching like heaving it at the end of the shot clock with
Yeah, that was
race
crazy.
all over him. He made it. He swished it. Me and my dad just look at each other like that was a prayer. That's a miracle that went in. But like that was that game for the Pacers. Everything was just going in, and game 3 ended that way because even after Andrew Nemhard made that 3, you could see him smiling and cheesing so hard. He's like, "Man, that was so lucky."
Well, the craziest thing is he hadn't scored until like 3 minutes left in the game. He got a layup, and then that crazy 3, which he stepped back, he bobbled the ball, and then was like, "Oh gosh, I have to shoot it," and it was nothing but net.
That's what I'm saying. Like did not think that was going in at all.
It was unbelievable. Nick, I know something that I think you wanted to touch on this was the Pacers' fast break points in this game, because that's really where this started for them in the first quarter.
Yeah, I think that's going to be something that they should look to continue exploiting the rest of the series, just with the Knicks' depth and the lack of bodies they're going to have. It's going to be hard for them to keep up. We did get to see some Jarris Walker playoff minutes in this game.
We did get to see some Jarris Walker minutes. If there is any bright spot for the Knicks, it was that Alec Burks has been good getting minutes in the rotation with these injuries, but overall, just a rough performance by the Knicks. But
what are you talking about? The bright spot for the Knicks is that Josh Hart finally got to sit on the bench for 5 minutes. He finally got to breathe.
he did finally get to rest in this game. Only 24 minutes of action for Josh Hart. But going back to these Pacers fast break points, like you see on all these plays, even after makes by the New York Knicks, the rare times where the Knicks made a field goal in the first quarter, TJ McConnell, when he comes in the game, even when he's bringing the ball up off a make, it seems like a fast break because he's just so speedy and energized. Like there was that one play, I don't know who made a 3. I think DiVincenzo made a 3. And immediately after, McConnell comes down the floor, gets a screen from Obi Toppin, a pick and roll, and they just get an alley-oop, and they score 5 seconds into the shot clock on a half-court set off a make. Like, that just can't happen if you're the New York Knicks defense.
That's 2K cheese right there.
Literally.
Yeah.
Now, by the way, you mentioned the name TJ McConnell. He played fantastic. Do you have his stats on like standby? Because I don't know, man. When watching that game, even the announcers were saying like, man, he's not a 3-point shooter, but the way he's been hitting it today, he had a wide open look. He took it. He drained it.
Yeah, I mean, in this game, he had 15 points, 4 boards, and 10 assists in 20 minutes.
TJ McConnell.
But
that's how you win playoff games.
I'm trying to find his second round numbers because he's been terrific in the second round as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, TJ McConnell in the second round, again, in this 4 games against the Knicks, is averaging 12 points and 6 assists in just 21 minutes per game. Obi
huge.
This might be the most insane thing that on the Indiana Pacers roster in this second round of the rotation players, no one is shooting worse than 44% from the field. Everyone is 44% or better from the field in this series, which is just crazy. You got Halliburton at 53%, including 45% from three on 10 attempts. His aggression has been great over these last 3 games after he only took like 6 shots in game 1. He's been shooting. He's been shooting very well. Siakam, 54%. He hasn't been as great as the first round, but they haven't needed it because everyone else has been playing so well. Miles Turner, as you mentioned.
I think I saw that he's been shooting like 40% from 3 in the postseason. Like he's
44% in this series.
Yeah, he's been on fire.
Obi Toppin getting revenge against his former team. Like these splits are just incredible. He's at 59% from the field, 55% from 3.
Will they ever slow down? Will they ever miss a shot? Like, and that's the thing. Like, New York's not a bad defensive team. Tom Thibodeau is a defensive coach. It is wild that Indiana is shooting this well.
They're very deep. We've said it all year. It's very deep, and they like to get up and down.
Yeah. Oh man, if they can keep that fast pace, Indiana in 7.
I had the Knicks in 6. I'm sticking with it.
Ooh. So I think one last thing to mention from these 2 games that I think was a huge switch, coaching wise, was that Rick Carlisle. We've seen the first 2 games where Jalen Brunson was just going crazy, and we were talking about how Andrew Nembhard, Tyrese Halliburton, that's just not going to get it done defensively. It hasn't been getting it done. So Rick Carlisle has thrown Aaron Nesmith on Jalen Brunson these last 2 games, and he's made it very, very difficult for Brunson to get off quality shots. A lot of that, as we mentioned before, is the fatigue. In Game 4 specifically, you saw a lot of his shots came up short off the front of the rim. But Aaron Nesmith has done a terrific job of making it tough for Brunson to get off quality shots. Looking ahead to Game 5 and the rest of this series, OG Anunoby most likely is going to be out for Game 5. He might be out for Game 6. His earliest return is most likely a Game 7. And he's been incredibly valuable to this Knicks team. We know the record when he plays is just unbelievable. Do you guys think that, well, Nick, you obviously think so because you got the Knicks in 7, but Joey, do you guys think that the Knicks can win this series even if OG Anunoby is not in the lineup?
Knicks obviously a yes. Knicks in 6, but I don't think so. I was joking with Goglin in the pre-pod lobby saying that OG Anunoby is more valuable to this Knicks team than Jalen Brunson because that is just untrue. I was just trying to rile him up. A little bit. So if he's listening, I apologize. It's just my way of pushing your buttons. He is, but Goglin even said he's probably the second most important person on that Knicks team, and clearly he is. They can win without OG Anunoby, but it's going to take a complete game. It's going to need Jalen Brunson dropping 40, DiVincenzo hitting 20, Josh Hart having a triple-double in 20, Hartenstein, I know he got banged up in that last game too, but he's going to need to be able to grab boards, control the paint, because Miles Turner, especially like we said, he's been shooting great. He's been able to stretch the floor, and that is not Hartenstein's strong suit. So the Knicks definitely can do it. They're a good enough team. I can't believe I'm giving the Knicks credit at something. But it's going to be extremely difficult without OG Anunoby because he is huge for them defensively, another scoring option on the fast break. Like, he is just so important for that team.
I agree. I don't think the Knicks can do it. I don't think they can win the series if OG doesn't play. Not just because of his impact. I mean, I looked it up. So in the regular season, they were 20-3 with him in the lineup, and 6-2 in the playoffs before he obviously went out in Game 2. But you just look at the bodies of guys that they can play. Like they have 6 to 7 playable guys, and it's just really difficult when you're against this Pacers team that can play 8 to 9 guys and go full speed the entire game. Like it's funny to say, the Pacers, obviously their name's the Pacers, but they play with a lot of pace.
Yeah.
It's the most perfect name in all of sports right now.
Yeah.
It really is. So I don't think the Knicks can pull this off if they don't have OG Anunoby, personally.
They can do it if it's just going to be really difficult, like I said. But if he's out for the whole series, I'm talking just about Game 6, they can do it. But if he is out for the whole series, I don't know if they can do it for 2-3 games in a row. I'm probably with you. If OG's out for the rest of the series, I might take Pacers in 7.
I think the Knicks have to. I mean, obviously, this game
they were able.
They have to win Game 5. They absolutely have to win Game 5. They. I mean, so I guess 2 bright spots in this game for the New York Knicks. You get Alec Burks playing well. 20 points in this game. He was solid in Game 3. We were wondering who they were going to go to with OG being out. They go to Alec Burks, Tibbs' old trusty veteran. He had struggled since being traded from Detroit to the Knicks, but has played well these last 2 games. But the other bright spot is because this game was over so early, they were able to rest their starters for most of the second half. We were able to see some funky Jericho Sims, Daquan Jeffries lineups. That was fun. In the fourth quarter. But they were able to get some rest. I mean, this is the most rest that you're going to get in a series when you get blown out like that. And it is only 2-2. I know if Knicks fans maybe feel similar to how Cavs fans were feeling after their games 3 and 4 to Orlando, where it feels like you're down a whole lot more than it just being tied 2 games apiece. You're still right in this series, and you have the home court advantage. So
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see what happens. Should be a lot of fun. I'm gonna have to go Pacers. Oh, Pacers in 6.
Pacers in 7 if OG is out for the series. If I was every Knicks fan, I'd be praying to whoever you believe in to get OG back because you're gonna need him.
Or to have one of these guys start getting on fire from 3 again.
Or
hey, shout out to
Pacers maybe missing a shot or 2 would also help.
Yeah,
maybe not get greedy.
There is something to say for that as well, because I mean, like the numbers before, the Pacers have just been on fire. It's been incredible. I mean, they scored in this game. They scored in the modern NBA. They scored 121 points while only shooting 8 free throws. I think that's pretty impressive. Not needing to get to the line.
Can't call anybody free throw merchants then.
No, can't on the Indiana Pacers. Their starting lineup, none of their starters took a free throw. It was all threes or layups for the most part. And some middies by Pascal Siakam. But 4 entertaining series, all in their own different ways. It's going to be a lot of fun to see how the rest of these series come out. Moving on, let's talk about also something that happened on Sunday afternoon, and that was the NBA Draft Lottery, which was unexpectedly happening on Sunday. Usually they have it a couple weeks later, but I think for scheduling purposes they had it at this point. But anyways, we had the Draft Lottery, and this was the most wild, incredible draft lottery since 2019, the first year where they had the worst 3 teams all get a 14% chance. When that year the Pelicans jumped up, the Grizzlies jumped up to 1 and 2. This season, the Atlanta Hawks, who were in the play-in tournament and had just a 3% chance at the number 1 pick, went all the way up to number 1. And the Hawks, for the first time in franchise history, have the top pick in the draft, followed by the Washington Wizards, the Houston Rockets also jumping up to number 3 thanks to the GFF Brooklyn Nets. With the Spurs, the Detroit Pistons at 5.
I'm sorry. I'm being a Cleveland Cavs fan, not supposed to be a huge Detroit Pistons fan. But man, Detroit fans, I feel so bad for you. y'all have had like the worst record and the highest chance for the number one pick for like 3 or 4 times in the last like 5 years, and each time you guys have finished fifth, the worst possible spot you guys could finish in, right? Is fifth the worst one that you could?
Fifth, yes, I think if you have the worst record, fifth is probably the worst.
Man, I feel for y'all. That just sucks, honestly. That's where the ball. That's how the ball goes sometimes, I guess.
It is how it goes sometimes. Although I think in a draft like this, where there aren't a whole lot of prospects, and
Yeah,
for a team having the worst record with the Pistons, they're pretty set positionally, at their guards, and they have their center, they have their small forward and Asar Thompson. They're basically handed who they're gonna get really at the fifth overall pick. I'm not too familiar with too many of the prospects, but I know that that Alex Sarr is probably the top guy. He'll probably go number one.
yeah.
With his crazy size. I think that's going to be super interesting for Atlanta. I think we could potentially see a lot of trades at the top of this draft.
I have heard a lot of trade talk already.
Um, Obviously, we'll have a bunch of episodes going over our thoughts on. I know Nick always has a mock draft before the draft gets going, so that'll be a lot of fun. But to see what eventual trades may happen here, because obviously Atlanta is in an interesting position here with them having a disappointing year, and really the main takeaway being that Trae Young and DeJounte Murray just can't play together in the same backcourt. Will they flip one of them? And in theory, it would have most likely been for a high draft pick, but they got the number one pick. It's almost similar to that 2019 draft where the Pelicans, they had Anthony Davis who requested a trade. And it's like, okay, they'll probably trade him for the number one pick, but they got the number one pick. So it's like, what do you do?
If I was them, here's a trade. Here's a fun little trade I thought of that I would love to see. The Spurs have the fourth pick and what, the eighth pick?
Correct.
They have 2 top 10 picks. They're looking good right now. Trade for Trae Young.
Yeah,
The Spurs trade for Trae Young, and the Hawks draft Alex Sarr, and Wemby gets another good player to play with. And
well,
to me, that's funny because to me it's funny because DeJounte Murray came from the Spurs. Trae Young is now go to the Spurs to leave DeJounte. I don't know. That would be a fun little trade.
I don't like that. I don't know. I've heard that a couple times. I don't like it just because I'd rather almost see the Spurs draft 2 guys. I know it's not deep class or anything like that, but I feel like if you take 2 guys who are under the age of 20 who have pro skills and let them develop around Wemby, then they can just build some chemistry with this dude and really learn how to play with him.
Similar to the Thunder.
Trae Young,
you thinking like Isaiah Collier maybe?
Yeah, whoever they decide over
LeBron
there in San Antonio.
James.
They've made some good draft picks.
LeBron James.
No,
I don't like this fit with Trae and Wemby.
So in theory, I mean when you just put it on paper, Trae and Wemby, I like it. I mean, just on the surface, I like it. But what you're saying, I agree. I think it's better when you've got guys that can develop together in a rebuild. Like
that's definitely the more fun way to go about it.
We have numerous examples we've seen with OKC probably being the most notable one. Even though Shea wasn't drafted by the Thunder, he basically developed with all of those draft picks that the Thunder accumulated. Other examples, you've got probably Cleveland. They drafted Garland, Mobley, Sexton at the time to all develop together. Trae Young is probably going to be the hottest name on the trade block, him or DeJounte. But part of me is also like, okay, you're the Hawks. You have the number one pick. Trae, Jalen, Johnson, and Sarr. It's not a bad start if you're thinking, to just build with Trae still.
If they stick with Trae and they draft Alex Sarr, I think that's perfect. Sarr is another freak, kind of like Wemby. Just 7'1", 18 years old, got a lot of tools. He's He's only 18, so he can literally develop and you can shape him into however you want him to play.
Yeah, I think it'll be a huge offseason for the Hawks. Of course, we'll see whether or not they decide to, you know, deal off their starter players. And I think it's going to be a lock that Clint Capella will be on the move.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, it seems like he's been on the move ever since he got there. Honestly, besides that first year, but definitely interesting results there with the Hawks getting one. I think the Rockets having the third pick is very interesting because of all the young talent that they already have. I'm not sure really where anyone would fit on their team.
They are one of the teams I heard are possibly in trade talks to trade for maybe another star.
Yes,
Because they're exactly what you just said. They already have a lot of young talent. They move on from the pick, bring in a veteran star to help them and be a complement to Jalen Green, Sengun, Fred VanVleet, and all that young talent. That would be perfect.
I think
Donglin sure would be happy.
I think a couple names that would be interesting in that scenario would be maybe a Jimmy Butler if those rumors are true that the Heat want to move on from Jimmy Butler, which I don't think are true, but I mean you never really know until it happens. I think Jimmy Butler would be a great addition to the Houston Rockets if that happened. Despite him being, of course, a lot older. I think that they could use that veteran leadership like you were talking about. I think if in a trade, they would definitely look to target a wing player. A Brandon Ingram maybe would be interesting. He's someone that I think the Pelicans will definitely trade.
Mm-hmm.
There are definitely a lot of opportunities that could happen with this draft. Even the Grizzlies getting 9.
Yeah.
That should be good.
Who's gonna pair with John, Nick?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they're another team that could make a trade. Like, there are just a lot of teams. You never know. Maybe a team trades up or down depending on their situation. I think Washington getting 2 is going to be great for them, so they can try to get someone.
I mean, they've always talked about getting rid of Kuzma.
Yeah, they might. Yeah, they definitely could do Kuzma. They definitely could do Kuzma this summer.
All I know is draft is in what, late June?
Yeah, it's in a little over a month.
Man, it's gonna be fun. Even though we still got a long way to go in the playoffs, man, I'm excited to start talking draft prospects and mock drafts and get ready to see these new group of guys come in. Even though the playoffs have been so much fun already, I don't want them to end.
Yeah, we still got a couple, or I guess 2.5 rounds still to go now. We're in the middle of the second round at this point.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be so much fun. You guys have any other thoughts on the lottery or these games before we get on out of here?
No, sir.
I don't think so. Other than LeBron's coming back to Cleveland, Bronny's gonna be in Cleveland. It's gonna be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, Bronny James adds a whole nother dimension to this now that he's had a good showing in the draft combine.
Yeah, I'm with Nick. Trade Donovan Mitchell. We got Bronny. We got LeBron. We're set. Just give us another role player to be good with.
Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, well, let us know what you guys think in the comments below on all these series so far on the draft lottery. What trades could potentially happen between now and the draft. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA playoff content. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will catch you in the next one.
Peace.